Good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Thomas. I come from out in Kansas and work at a place called the Foreign Military Studies Office. And it's our job to look at a number of foreign militaries. I wanted to use some of the 10 minutes I have today to let you know one or two things about our office as well that you might find of interest. The first thing is that every month we publish a journal called Operational Environment Watch. And what our analysts do is we take a look at just about every country in the world. We look at the press, try to find what we think is the most interesting, and then we put it in this monthly journal. So if you have an interest in it, it's free. Just go to our website and you can download it. As a former military guy, I hate to say that I'll probably be the only one who actually tries to answer the questions because that was my job. So I put all 4 questions that's in your bulletin up there, and I'll do my best to answer them along with a few other things. First of all, how does NATO detect information and influence? And what I would like to tell you is that, first of all, obviously, I'm talking about China. China is only being used here as an example. But it's a good example because it shows you how you really need to get into another nation's context if you're going to understand strategic communications and what they're doing. So if you're thinking about how do I detect something from China, the things that I would tell you first of all is, go to the people who know them best. And that would probably be the Taiwanese. They really understand the situation there better than anyone and probably how to communicate. So I would go there. The second thing is look at lessons learned. The Chinese have learned lessons from watching what Russia has done in Ukraine. And they list 3 things. They say it's very important to be on the offensive. They say it's very important to use legal means. And it's very important to have military power to back up what you're doing. So between having a reference point to go to and looking at lessons learned, you should be able then to detect a little bit better what type of information influence is being used against you. Indicators. Again, if you have to go to context if you're going to understand indicators. One of the things that has been apparent in the Chinese military press anyway, they state that there is an effort on their part to take over the international culture market. And this is very important because strategic communications are all about the international culture market. The last time I stayed at a hotel in Washington, D.C., I was offered 2 newspapers, the Washington Post and the China Daily in English. And they also now have CCTV, as most people know, China's TV station in Washington as well. The other thing that I would say is an indicator is you have to learn another country's signaling techniques. There are ways that different nations signal to you that they're going to be doing something, and you have to be aware of those. And that's, again, it gets, in essence, everything gets back to context and understanding how the other guy looks at things. Third, preemptive actions against hybrid threats. First of all, China doesn't do hybrid threats. They're not interested in hybrid threats. What they have as part of their context is something called the 3 warfares, which is media, legal issues, and psychological warfare. So if you're going to have a start point for understanding strategic communications there, you have to take that context into consideration and forget hybrid. Go for the 3 warfares. The second thing that you can look at as a preemptive indicator is how they do blue teaming. Now, in the United States, when we look at an opponent, we like to talk about red teaming. Well, the Chinese do just the opposite. They do blue teaming. And they have a whole list of factors that they go through in order to arrive at what they call really take on the emotional state of the other guy. In fact, the last point of their blue teaming is now you have to become red again. In other words, you have to now become Chinese again. because you should have taken on that blue team perspective so seriously. And finally, I would just say that keep in mind, again, as a preemptive thing, those three warfares. The last question that was asked had to do with defensive measures. And actually, you've already heard defensive measures. How do you detect? What are the preemptive measures? What are the indicators? Those are all some of those defensive measures. But I'll tell you what the Chinese have also done. They have developed 4 departments. They have a crisis management department. They have a study and forecast department. They develop a response mechanism and pretest department. And they have a department for managing propagation channels to encourage and clear the messages that go out. So they have their own way of taking care of strategic communications. I wanted to just offer 2 thoughts here at the end on some other thinking about China. In Russia, they call this concept reflexive control. In China, it is referred to as stratagems. The essence of the whole issue is, how do I make someone do something for themselves that they're actually doing for me? That's the essence of any stratagem. That's the essence of reflexive control in Russia. How do I make you do something for yourself that you're actually doing for me? It's in chapter 6 of The Art of War. People never refer to it because they don't get the context, I guess, but Sun Tzu said in chapter 6, how do I make the enemy come of his own accord? In other words, how do I make him do something for himself? And the answer was, offer him advantage. So by offering him advantage, he's doing something for himself that he's actually doing for you. Further, when you look at strategic and stratagem manipulation in Chinese books, I'm most interested in the second bullet, that a stratagem has to be put in sync with any adversary's intelligence, judgment, decision process. If I put a stratagem in sync with that process, I will have a great deal of success. If I don't understand that intelligence, judgment, decision process, then I probably won't. I won't get to the crux of the issue. That the bullet that follows, I think, is equally as important, though. How do I conduct a psychological exchange with my opponent? In other words, how do I really become part of his thought process? How do I think like him, understand like him? And finally, they start to talk about the need now in China, because of the information age. You can't just have a simple stratagem. You have to have this complex development of stratagems. You need 2 or 3 at one time because of the way cyber works and the speed of information. We saw this also in the book Unrestricted War in 1999. Chao Liang here talked about not new concept weapons. He wasn't talking about directed energy, electromagnetic pulse. He was talking about new concepts of weapons. How do I put all this stuff together? How do I put all these different types of stratagems and cyber manipulation and cyber deception and all these little areas together to come to a strategic communication result? I'm going to finish with more advertisement about our office. These are the 6 books I've written on China. They are all available as e-books on our website. So if you're interested in any of those, all you have to do is go to our website, click on them, and you'll be taken to the books in general. The other thing that the book on the left has already been published. It's out on the website. It's an e-book that you can access right now. The book on the right is done. I'll show you the contents of it. It's done. It's just a matter of getting final Pentagon clearance on it. But these are the chapters that are in that book. Thank you for your time.